Superman, Episode 5, Most Eligible Superman, or as I like to call it, This Escalated Quickly. And it's your boy Icon with another DC animated TV review for you, going over my adventures with Superman. And I mean, I was right. Like I made a call in the last review, and I was actually proven right. But more on that in a second. But first, before we get started, hit the notification bell, like and or subscribe to my YouTube channel. Check me out all over social media, and let's get started with the Superman goodness. So now we're at the Daily Planet, and Perry White. There's a television show, I guess it's like The Bachelor or something, or The Bachelorette combined. It's basically like a television show where they find like the most high profiled, like eligible single people, and they put them out there for the world to see, to let them know that they're single, and they choose like who's like the king or the queen or whatever the thing. So normally Cat Grant covers these things because she's like the social media mogul and everything, but this particular time Perry White decided to have Lois and Clark do the event because Superman was invited as a guest on the show, and Perry said straight up, he said that you two are the only people that Superman talks to. So Cat Grant was like losing her shit, and then she was just like, you have to take me with you. And then she told Lois, she was like, take me with you because I know Superman's secret. And then she was like, oh boy. So then they get down to the gala, and then or the event or whatever it is, and then that's when Lois tells Clark, she said, listen, because you have to be Superman and you're going to be on a game show, Cat Grant is sniffing around and she might be suspicious of what your identity is. So she said that you and I can't do like the whole huggy, lovey thing because then she'll eventually figure it out, and we don't want her to figure it out. So she said just pretend to be single and just do what a bachelor does. And I was just like, that's gonna end very poorly. It's gonna end very poorly. So he shows up, they do the show, Superman shows up, he's sitting down. They were talking to a few people. One of them was Hank Henshaw. So we already know where that's headed. He's basically like cyborg Superman on the way. There was another woman, a single woman. She looked like a Middle Eastern, like Indian woman. And when I looked at her, I was like, she looks exactly like Queen Bee. but I don't know if it's going to be Queen Bee, but she looked like Queen Bee. The other person, I forgot who the other person was. And then there was another woman. They kept calling her like the Silver something, and I was just like, this is Silver Banshee. Like, is her name like are we gonna secretly find out her name is Saman Schmite or whatever? Like, they talked about her way too much and made her way too much of a focal point for her not to eventually be somebody. And I think she's going to eventually become the Silver Banshee. So then Superman shows up, and then they were talking to him. She was the Silver Lady. She was talking to him, and then she was getting all flirty with him. And now Lois is getting jealous. So she's just like, hey, like I have a foundation where like we do certain things to raise money for children. And then Superman was like, I know about that foundation. You guys do great work. I'd love to be a part of it. You know, she puts her hand on his hand, kisses him on the cheek. Lois is in tears. And then she goes running out of the room. Now, Jimmy's out in these streets because he still hasn't spoken to Clark when he left him out to dry after Lex Luthor dropped the verbal bomb on him. While Jimmy was walking through the streets, as he was walking, he sees a white blonde girl in the street. There's a truck heading towards her, and the girl looked like she was ready to flip the truck, but Jimmy, being the person who he is, ran out into the street, grabbed her, and pulled her out of harm's way. And then the girl was like, oh my God, like, you tried to help me. And then she got all smitten with him. Now, for a lot of people who thought that Jimmy Olsen's character was gay, that argument has now been officially debunked because him and Kara were like all over each other. So, he's taking her around, and then he sees Clark across the street, and then he's like, ah, shit. The girl was just like, hey, I'm new to Metropolis. I'm looking for somebody. And then because Jimmy didn't want to face Clark, he was just like, hey, let me help you find the person you're looking for, and I'll give you a tour of Metropolis. So he takes her around Metropolis. Jimmy and Kara get to know each other. They actually kind of have a thing for each other a little bit. And then, he takes her to the top of the Daily Planet, and then the two of them are talking there. And then that's when she said that, she was here to basically like find somebody, like find her cousin. And then, he apologized, and he told her, he said, listen, part of the reason why I took you around today was because I was really trying to avoid somebody, but that's not the right thing to do. So he said, listen, let me make up to you. He said, I'll show you one more place, and I'll take you. I have to go talk to my friend. He was like, why don't you come with me? And I said, and the two of them are having a thing. And she, like, he acknowledges it and she acknowledges it. So Jimmy and Kara is going to be a thing at some point. So he brings her, to the dating show where Superman is. And then when he brings her to the dating show, let me backtrack for a second. There was a whole, like, in the beginning when he first met her, he was kind of like, Jimmy was just kind of like confused by some of her actions, because he was looking at her and he was just like, oh, why would you stand in the middle of a car that's coming towards you? People were like, bumping into her, and then she was getting all aggressive, and then he asked her if she tried ice cream. She's like, she's never had ice cream before, and then she said she's never had soda before, she's never did this before. And the whole time I'm thinking to myself, because obviously this is Kara, like we know this is Kara. Superman sent the beacon to go find Kara. The way his daddy explained it, he was like, no, Kal-El, you have family on this earth, and you must, like, it was implied that she was on Earth already and living God knows where, and he just needs to find her on Earth. That was implied. But then when she was walking around with Jimmy, she was acting like she ain't know what anything was. And I'm just like, what is wrong? I'm like, is this girl like challenged? It's like, I didn't understand what the problem was. Like, it was very confusing. Like, it's like for her to say like, oh, I don't know this, I don't know that, I've never seen that before. I was like, what have you been doing this whole time on Earth? But then we find out when her and Jimmy get to the dating show, when she gets there, she sees Superman, and then she's just like, oh, she said, oh, Jimmy, you found him. That's my cousin. And then she's pointing, and then she like grabbed like a railing, and then she squeezed it, and then like it crushed into like a million pieces. But then when she saw Superman, she told Jimmy that was her cousin. Jimmy looked, and he was like, wait a minute, your cousin is Superman? And then he turns, and he saw that she crushed the bar, and he was like, ah, shit, that actually makes sense now. So then she goes up, so then Kara goes up to Superman. This is when like Lois started crying, and then Lois ran away. Superman went after Lois, but then Kara stepped in front of him, and then she was just like, oh, I've traveled very far to meet you. And then Superman didn't know who she was, so he just kind of like brushed her off, and he went after Lois. So then he goes and talks to Lois, and then Lois is just like, oh, Clark, there are so many women that are better for you, and I'm not good enough for you, and blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, it's not up to you. Like, that's a bullshit excuse because she feels like she's not good enough, and because she has unresolved mommy issues of her mom leaving her. She's trying to project that on the Clark. The whole thing about there are other women better suited for you than I am, that's Clark's decision to make, not yours. And I don't know why Clark didn't say that to her. He just stood there looking stupid. And then, then she was just like, we shouldn't be together. And then he goes, you're breaking up with me. And then Kara kicks in the door, and she's like, look, motherfucker. She's like, I've been waiting for you all day. And now that I found you, she was like, you're sitting here on dating shows. You're smiling and waving at the kids and the babies and everything. And you're sitting there crying over this broad. She was just like, you're weak. She said, I came here for a soldier, a warrior. She was like, I came here for family. She even told Jimmy at one point, she betrayed her dad because she wanted to go on a spaceship and go on an adventure, and her dad said no. And more on that in a second. Well, then she was just like, I came to find you, and she said, turns out like you're weak and you're soft and you're not fit to don the label of the House of El. And then she got mad and she beat him up. So the two of them are fighting, and then apparently Superman turning blue in the last 2-3 episodes was his cold breath kicking in, because his cold breath kicked in. That still hasn't been explained. But so now Superman and Kara, they're fighting, and then here's the part where I was right, because I said in the last episode, when the super being, which we assumed was General Zod, was floating off into outer space, I said in the last review, I said that could be General Zod, and then I said, shit, for all we know, that could be Supergirl. It was Supergirl. Supergirl was the being floating in outer space wearing the General Zod costume because she's on a spaceship in outer space. And that explains why she doesn't know what ice cream is. She doesn't know what like food is or like sunshine or whatever. She's not privy to the things on Earth because she's been on the spaceship. There is somebody on the spaceship who she's talking to. That might be General Zod. It might not be. They kept referring to Kara as like the leader or whatever the case may be. And the person who she was talking to said, bring Kal-El aboard the ship. So she fought Clark, whooped his ass, and then she snatched him up and dragged him up to the spaceship. Lois and Jimmy tried to follow in a helicopter. It didn't work. That was the episode ended. And thank you for tuning in. So yeah, this definitely escalated very quickly. And they changed up a little bit of the Supergirl lore, because apparently, like what it sounds like to me, it sounds like it's going to be something where General Zod and his minions wanted to go on an expedition around like the universe to like explore or whatever. Kara wanted to be a part of the exploration. Her dad was like, no. And then she was like, screw you, I'm going anyway, Dad. She gets on the spaceship. General Zod, Kara, and the rest of the Kryptonians, they're on the spaceship together. And then Krypton blows up, but they don't get affected by it because they were on the spaceship. And now she's all into like, because she kept saying that too. She's like, it's all about, like the supreme power. It's all about the empire. It's all about the empire. And Kara flat out told Clark, we're here to basically take over the earth. So, she's trying to get him on her side. I don't know where this is going to go. Like I said, we got 5 episodes left to go, and we went from 0 to 60 like that. But share your questions, comments, and or concerns down below, and we will continue to talk about it. Check me out on social media. Check me out on X, on TikTok, on Instagram, always on YouTube, where you can leave your questions, comments, and or concerns. So again, I feel like Silver Banshee was the character reveal of the day. Let me know if you thought that was Shaman Schmite, like if that was Silver Banshee, the way they explained her. And like I said, just let me know where you think this is going now that Supergirl has snatched up Clark and they're in outer space together. So that was it, guys. So thank you for tuning in. Check out my other videos up on my YouTube channel. Check out the interview that I did with Walter Jones, the original Black Power Ranger. Check out my coverage from Brooklyn Comic-Con. And until next time, for some more Superman action, up and away as always. And we're out this.